Welcome to Dr. TSPR show. This is Dr. Tangella Shiva Prasad Reddy alias Dr. TSPR. Namaste, Adab, hello. We are extremely sorry. We are 15 minutes delayed. Not our fault. And guests were ready much before from 7:50 p.m. But the Twitter since yesterday night and today YouTube, they have blocked DRTSPR channels for the simple reason that when we exposed what does Carbovax vaccine contain, is it snake venom, and how is that Nobel Prize for Peace is to be awarded, or because the nominations were done for Texas based microbiologists or doctors, whomever you call, by the Swedish Nobel Prize Academy. That is a big shock. And the Dr. Brian's video, which is very much popular now, 3 days since it has come out in 3 different series, it is there for everyone to watch. And he is the one who has related from Texas to Biological E in Hyderabad, the Biological E company, which is manufacturing Carbovax and antivenom. That's what they have clearly put all those things. So that is the reason why how can a Nobel Peace, a prize for peace, be nominated for Carbovax which has got snake venom or not. We have just played those things. At the same time, the Carbovax which is trying to be inoculated into children, what does it contain? What do these vaccines contain? Covaxin, we said cow blood, cow calf blood. Is it not true? Chimpanzee cells in Covishield, along with that many other things, which the court, right from court to Indian Council of Medical Research to Drug Controller General of India, World Health Organization or CDC, FDA, whoever, they are not revealing the actual contents. But when you want something alternative like Ayurveda, naturopathy, they are probing and putting everything into scrutiny. Why? It is my health, my life, and my priority. I should have correct information so that I can decide on what treatment I should take and what prevention measures I should adopt. Because I am a constitutional authority myself, it is with my money the governments run. And how is that you are just scaring me, forcing me into submission without giving me any proper information? Is this science? If this is not science, what is the truth? If you don't speak science, if you don't want truth to be prevailed, that means you are trying to curb the freedom of the citizens of the world. That is why we keep on doing shows with clear evidences. Since yesterday night I have been writing, without notice, how can you curtail my services of Twitter, and today in YouTube we will challenge you and you will have to pay hefty compensation, because I follow principles of natural justice. I release my poster with my guests 24 hours before with my mobile number. Anyone can participate. We have been inviting. Prove us wrong. So that is the reason why we are late and we are doing this live show. Thanks to my wonderful guests again. They are cooperating on CITIZENS-DRTSPR channel. Come whatever you may do, there will be a revolution. I am warning Twitter and YouTube. If you keep on blocking people who speak truth, there will be alternatives, multiple alternatives. And we have every right to question you, to get you into prosecution stage, because you are being publicly funded. This is not your private, whether Twitter or YouTube. So it is public who are playing a major role in sourcing information, sourcing contacts, taking all that information and contacts of the public. You are going rich and you are trying to dictate terms at the cost of dissemination of information, at the cost of freedom of speech, at the cost of freedom of expression, which is very fundamental to a free press, which my channels and myself belong to. We are very independent. Let us straight away get into the subject. That is why today's subject topic is of paramount importance. Corona and crony capitalists creating just fear without giving you proper information. That is why we are titling this, What is the Truth? So we'll straight away start with Dr. Prashanti Atluri, a brief, she is a cardiologist based in New York and she is an MD also. She is a associate professor in Louisiana State University. And we have again another one, Preetham Kumar Sinha. Now people will be behind him for creating so many brands. The people will not leave him come this election. You created some brand thinking that the earlier coalition is devil. But what is happening with this now? Your own people out to eat you, because in medical parlance we call autolysis. So people are there to question Pritham. That is why he is coming regularly. He has left his lucrative software field. Now he had come into migrated to health aspects. So both of you, wonderful. Welcome to this special show, madam. And I'll make
Namaste.
Dr. Prashanti as the presenter so that she can straight away start. And then Pritham will. Yes, yes, madam, you are the presenter.
You see my thing screen?
Uh, Not yet, madam.
Okay, give me 1 second. Enter screen. Share. Okay. Now is it better? Let me see.
Yes, yes,
Do you
wonderful.
see?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
madam. Please go ahead.
O- Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just new to this system, so I'm just trying to go to home. So slideshow from beginning. Okay. So everybody, thank you for having me here on the show, Dr. Reddy. It's an honor. And I'm Prashanti Atluri. I'm a regular medical doctor, just like anybody else. My own health issues for the past 5-6 years. It's not my health issues, actually, my daughter's health issues were the ones that made me venture into other kinds of health systems. And then I started learning more about natural hygiene and practices of nature cures. So this is my presentation entirely as a view of nature cures and natural hygiene from the perspective of an allopath. So let's start without further much, like, because I have a lot to share with you. So what is Big C? What is the acute healing? What is acute healing crisis? Have anybody heard about acute healing crisis? So why is an acute healing crisis of the body that's renamed as this pandemic, which is a Big C? This is the COVID. So you pretty much all of us have heard about COVID, right? For the past 2 years, this has been on and off. Every day, pretty much every second of our life, it's revolving around this Big C word. So what is happening? And then if you just really look at this one, it's the important one. Why is media always on it? Like, there are days when they take a few days of break or few minutes of break, they go back to war, and again it comes back in different form. COVID-19 comes back in different form, and then the government officials come back with some new guidelines or something or the other, with the big name of ICMR or CDC or something that's slapped next to their guidelines. So first of all, let's explore what exactly is going on, and then we can understand how do we approach this whole pandemic. So what are the symptoms of COVID-19? Basically, right, cough, anybody who has a cough, anyone who has shortness of breath, a fever, fatigue, runny nose, nasal congestion. If you have diarrhea, especially in children, they already said there's diarrhea, then you need to get tested for COVID. Then body ache, sore throat. I mean, didn't we ever have these symptoms in the past? Like, none of us grew up with a cough or a cold or a fever. Then why are we all of a sudden testing this, running a PCR test or some sort of a antigen test and calling it as a COVID-19? We used to call it cold, we used to call it common cold, we used to call it a flu or a sneezing or allergy or something or the other in the past. Why are we calling this one since 2020 or like 19, late 19, right? That's when the Wuhan crisis and everything started. So why did we rename this? So why is flu being renamed as a COVID-19, or what are the different, is COVID-19 presenting in any kind of different form? It's pretty much right. Like, anybody who has a cold is supposed to go get tested. Anyone who has a fever is getting tested. Even when they don't have a cough or a cold, even just because if they have to fly or take airlines or take a travel, they're getting tested for no reason. even if they don't have any kind of cough or fever or any of them. So what is going on here? Why are we just getting tested left and right and center and not even like thinking about like what is so new about it? So all these things I'm going to present to you the views of what is from the perspectives of a natural hygiene. So natural hygiene is a 200 or maybe 300-year-old kind of science, health sciences, which kind of like revolves around the word toxemia. It's nothing but the internal hygiene. I'm sure everybody has heard about when you were growing up. If you're in like me, my age, like if you're in 40s or 50s, it's like, the blood is gone bad. It's not, it needs to be purified. So what was that and how did we change it to something like a COVID? So all this fever, cough, whatever we've been talking about are nothing but signs of body that is trying to purge itself of the excess toxins. That means the blood is really bad and it's trying to purify itself. So that's the basic reason when the body kind of goes into a detox mode. So which we named it as COVID-19. So how does it happen? What happens to it? So this is from an old book of mine from Dr. Shelton, and which is adopted from another natural hygienist, Dr. Tilden. This is toxemia. Toxemia in the form of a tree. So what is toxemia here is like, any kind of negative emotions, any innervation in the sense of like taxing ourselves, not taking enough rest, all kinds of addictions, not eating well, not physical, all kinds of denatured foods, lack of rest, polluted air, everything that kind of exposes us and builds up this process of toxemia. This toxemia can manifest in different kinds of forms. In allopathic sense, it's like either a gastrointestinal disease, colitis, diarrhea, acidity. Then you can call it as atherosclerosis, or heart disease. Then you can call it common cold, asthma. All this, the root cause is this process of building up disease, which builds up in the form of toxin accumulation. So where do these toxins come from? For example, any person that's alive is kind of builds up a toxin. For example, if you breathe in air, then you breathe out carbon dioxide. If what happens if the carbon dioxide builds up within us, we become toxic. So we need to remove the carbon dioxide out. Same thing, each and every cell, when it is alive, there is some amount of repair and process work that goes in it. So every time it works, there is going to be some buildup of toxin. The kidneys, our skin, our lungs, all these things work together in coordination, synchronized in order to remove these toxins. What happens if the toxin load builds up? Like the person doesn't take enough rest, doesn't eat proper meal, or doesn't follow any proper principles of natural principles, then what happens? Then toxin load builds up. When the toxin load builds up, then it manifests in the form of different kinds of diseases. Natural hygiene is a science where this is proven multiple times again and again. You want to name it HIV, it's nothing but toxemia. You want to name it AIDS, it's nothing but toxemia. You want to name it diabetes, it's nothing but toxemia. You want to name it COVID, it's nothing but toxemia. It's all built up within us. There is no germ, there is no gene that kind of comes in and starts playing a role in our health. It's all in our lifestyle. So this is kind of like, natural hygiene puts responsibility on the patient itself, or on the participants, or on the individual itself. Every time something happens to them, like if they have a sickness or something, we get to tell them, okay, let's go back and see what you've been doing in the past, 3 months, 4 months. How has your lifestyle been? So everything, the root cause of this is a poor lifestyle, poor choice of lifestyle. This one reason, we don't blame it on a virus. Any kind of outside entity doesn't cause any sickness unless you're really swimming in a slurry of pollutants, chemical pollutants, and all kinds of innervations that are happening around you. Those are the root causes of disease. But it's not a germ that flies in and attacks our body, or it's not the poor genes that we inherited, and we don't have to keep going back and blaming our forefathers. So now let's analyze what a cough, what a cold, and a fever is. These are some of my mimes, or some of the slides are borrowed from multiple natural hygiene practitioners as well as enthusiasts who are really changing this paradigm of like the how we shift, how we think. They're shifting the whole thing because forever we've been known to blame a germ or a virus or something, even though our lifestyle is the one that's been really erratic. So a cold is nothing but a simply an effort of the system to relieve itself of the accumulated waste particles or toxins. Just everyday lifestyle, like however we live, it builds up toxins. So toxins build up to a point that the body is like, okay, I can't take them anymore. And then it opens up the pent-up valve. The pent-up valve is in the form of a cold or a cough. Fever is actually the cure itself. When you raise temperature, what happens is all the fluids in the body are thinned out. So they go to your lungs, they go to kidney, they come to your skin, so that the circulation, through the circulation, and then the toxins come out of the system. That's the body's inbuilt mechanism. These are survival mechanisms in order to prevent us from, being drowned in toxic load. So cold is the cure. If cold and fever are the cure, what are we trying to do to ourselves? Why are we getting all this testing? Why are we taking all these pills? What are we doing to ourselves when the cough and fever itself are the cures? So there are two words that need to be redefined at this point. What is a flu? Flu is nothing but an body initiated process in order to rid itself of the excess built up of the toxins and the debris. So again, I said, as the toxin load builds up, because you haven't been eating well, because you haven't been resting well, the lifestyle, your thoughts, everything have been like, so messed up, then toxins build up, pile up to a point that the body opens up the pent-up valve. So virus is nothing but the clean up toxins, the toxins that are coming out of the system. So virus is not a living thing. It's nothing that you can be cultured in the lab or any of this, any kind of virus you want to call it. It's nothing but our cells that are just shedding out the extra amount of toxins, as well as the cleanup that's going on inside the body. So we don't have to blame Wuhan for releasing COVID-19 into the air or putting them into the why. There is nothing like that. It's a real deep topic, but I really hope to start off with trying to explain to you what the body does and what toxemia is. Once you understand natural hygiene perspectives, I think we're going to stop blaming it on someone else for creating disease in us. So you don't need any kind of treatment for a cold, cough, or a flu, or any of these COVID-19 symptoms, the fever, the inflammation, the coughing, etc. They constitute the healing process. Just cut out of their way and permit them to complete their work. So did we really get out of the way when we had a detox in the form of fever, cough, and cold? Did we not, did never ever try to aid nature? She doesn't need your puny aids. Only she needs is you need to stop interfering. So this is from one of the fathers, one of the founders of natural hygiene. I mean, his books are excellent. If you I mean he was active from 1900s, early 1900s to late 1900s, and he has revolutionized the way we think about toxemia and how nature works in order to cleanse us. Um, there is a that's what huge thing, right? Germ versus terrain theory. The good thing about COVID-19 is it really exposed, like we are able to like separate chaff from wheat, because in the past, a lot of people were going after germ theory about Louis Pasteur, how great he was. Now slowly people are trying to dig up old history and trying to understand what exactly Louis Pasteur did, and then what other contemporaries at the time in natural hygiene have been doing with this theories. So diseases are not caused by germs. Germs are no different from any other organisms. They are just mere spectators. They are there because they thrive only when the conditions are right. For example, when they have the food in the form of lots of garbage and junk in our system, when the temperature is right and the humidity is right, all those things. So the toxic matter that's built up in our system is the one that not doesn't even attract the germs, but they just go there as a process of cleaners, and then they do their job. So disease is an inside out job. It's built up within us. You want to name it anything you want to call it, it's built up within us. It cannot be resolved, or it cannot be treated with any external medicines or injections. We're going to talk more about it as we go further. But this needs to be understood. We cannot anymore blame any kind of germs for the poor lifestyle choices we have made. You want to call it any kind of name, you don't inherit disease from germs or from genes. This really needs to be understood. People have to start taking responsibility, personal responsibility for themselves, and understand how disease is built up. Otherwise, it's this is COVID-19. Then they're going to call it as a hanta. They're going to call it something else. One after another, they will be releasing one thing or the other until we realize what is going on, what is that is our thought process that's wrong, and we need to correct that way. So what went wrong? So let's analyze just based on what I built up. I mean, what I told you, the foundation that I laid of natural hygiene. It's a huge new concept for a lot of you. It's going to shake up the core. But the thing is, this is the truth. We need to say, as Dr. Reddy keeps saying, absolute truth. There is no middle ground. You cannot little bit blame it on germs and little bit blame it on your lifestyle. This is the absolute truth. Never ever take the middle path. So there, I'm sure a lot of you are going to say, I got COVID. I really suffered it a lot. Do not take COVID-19 easy. So now I'm going to ask you a few questions. Did you let the fever ride itself? By now, I told you already, fever is the cure, cold is the cure. Did you interfere with fever? How many times did you try to suppress your fever with medications, with herbs, or any kind of homeo pills, or any of them? Did you let your fever run high and then come down, high and come down? How many times have you tried to suppress it? How many cough suppressant herbs and tonics did you take in order to suppress your cough, which ultimately the mucus that needed to be coming out, because that's the mechanism, that's the reason why you cough off, you let it in there, and then the scavengers went there in order to clean up the mucus, and then you ended up with a pneumonia. How many times did you panic and go to the ER for multiple checkups and kept asking the doctors, you want some medications, at least few antibiotics, at least some steroids, or you're okay with taking experimental drugs? How many x-rays and CT scans of chest did you receive when you got the diagnosis of COVID-19? So these are the questions we need to ask. Was it the COVID 19 that really made you sick, or the artificial interventions that you needed in order to suppress the natural mechanism of fever, of cleaning up? These are the reasons we need to understand. So anybody who wants to tell me like they had real bad COVID-19, they suffered a lot, I want you to answer these questions one by one. And then let's analyze and see what went wrong. It's not the COVID-19, because COVID-19 was was the cure itself. The fever was the cure itself. How many more interventions did you do? That's the question that I have for everybody who keeps saying, I'm not going to take this COVID-19 easily. I don't want to get it one more time. I'm going to stand in line for vaccines. And I expect everybody around me to be vaccinated. But first of all, you answer these questions, then we're going to work on the processes of what happens. So what is natural hygiene prescription when you're having an active cleanup or an acute healing crisis, or let's call it COVID-19 according to 2019 terms? Acute healing crisis is nothing but COVID-19. So what are the three P's of prescriptions of natural hygiene are? Enough amount of physical rest, physiologic rest, digestive rest, that's the most important thing, and psychological, mental rest. So I'm going to go over each of them one by one. So physical rest. So you're going to rest the body. Did you rest the body enough and not doing anything strenuous? Did you just sleep it off? Even when you had a fever, it's better to lie down and rest. How many times did you rush to the hospitals? How many times did you this or open the phone and then or started messaging everybody, hey, I got tested for COVID-19. I need to inform everybody around me. So how many times did you do that? How much rest did you take when you were having acute healing crisis? Next comes the most important part is the digestive rest. So when you are having acute healing crisis, it's nothing but decluttering of the home. Okay, so you're in the process of decluttering your home. Your body is also decluttering your body. So at that time, would you like to cook a feast in your home when you're decluttering your home? What happens? There will be cobwebs in your meal, right? It's the same thing. Did you take enough digestive rest? Did you stop eating at the time when you were having a fever and a cold and a cough, which they diagnosed you as COVID 19? Fasted, waited for your, did you fast enough? Did you wait for your appetite to return? Or the most important thing, I'm from Andhra. So most of the times, like my mom was saying, oh, corona ochindi kodin tinnamu. So people were like, oh, I'm diagnosed with corona. People need to eat chicken. So people never gave any kind of digestive break and they indulged themselves in a high protein, high fat nutrition post corona. So what happens is our digestive system is not ready to take any kind of highly complex food in the form of chicken or any meat products or any high protein diets or even the idli and all that they usually eat because it's in a state of like the circulation is diverted away from digestion. It's busy cleaning up. So all this high protein, high calorie, the chicken, meat, mutton, whatever you guys ate was just sitting in the tummy and it's starting to ferment. When the food ferments in your gut, that's when all kinds of mishaps happen. That's when you get diagnosed with all kinds of pneumonias, then the kidney problems, then the shortness of breath, then the digestion never improves, then the typhoid comes in, one after another. This is what happens when you never give a digestive break when you're having acute healing crisis. This is the most common thing scenario that I have seen. Like a lot of people around me in India, in Hyderabad, they were calling me, oh, they were diagnosed with COVID 19. I tried to talk to them into it, like, you need to fast, you need to rest enough. You don't have to go to the hospital multiple times in order to get a CT chest, in order to get your corona, what is it, the CT chest score. They were doing a CT chest score at the time. And but I mean, none of them listen. Unfortunately, they were onto high protein diet, like because they liked it. Everybody around them, like, oh, my cousin in Tenali told me I need to eat a high protein diet. Who is this cousin in Tenali? Like, who is he a doctor? No, he's not. None of them were like qualified, but people just wanted to hear what they needed to hear. They wanted to eat. They wanted to celebrate. I don't know what they were trying to do. Next comes this important cycle that I'm going to really go over very fast. So our body is not a multitasker. So what happens is there are multiple stages of how our body works. So let's work on the process of this one, digestion. What happens is our body is in the process of receiving food only when the sun is up. We always have a clock in the head, which is called circadian rhythm, which kind of like syncs with the sun. So digestion is at peak when the sun is at peak, and then as the sun sets down, digestion stops, the enzymatic action, and then the acids and everything kind of go down. But by the time you sleep, that's when the repair process happens, and then early in the morning, that's when all the elimination, that's releasing of toxins happen. So this is the circadian rhythm that happens in our body. Imagine a person who eats all day long, maybe for the 4 or 5 hours when he's sleeping, that's the only time he's not eating. Then what happens to all this toxic built-up? So body never eliminates well, and then the body never repairs well. We are always in the constant mode of digestion. Now, bring the cycle of acute healing crisis, COVID 19. Body is still like the whole 24 hours, it's in releasing, eliminating phase. It can never digest, it can't repair. It's just in the process of cleaning up. We have to respect what body is trying to do. There is nothing you can do. You cannot go against the laws of nature. We just have to respect and then just listen to them rather than trying to accelerate any phases or trying to do interrupt any of them. In this whole cycle, if you don't eat, this is the best thing that can do. Nobody should be eating and like we all eat more than we are supposed to be eating. That's what I'm trying to tell. So if you can if you can shorten this cycle and keep it short and let the body repair, let the body release, that's much more productive to your health when compared to constantly eating, constantly measuring the macros, okay, calling it how much carbohydrates am I eating, how many calories am I eating, how much protein do I need. All these are so taxing on the digestion. Just forget about them. Stick to your natural diet and keep it simple and short. That's the only way we can go forward. So again, elimination, acute healing crisis. We are always in the process of elimination of toxins. Body is not in a state of receiving anything for digestion. So what we did, we started with chicken meat, and then we started with some mutton. We started with high protein diets. So imagine a process of releasing toxin. It kept on getting interrupted. Then what happens? The toxins keep brewing up, and all the thing that you were eating was rotting in your stomach. Then the complications of COVID-19 set up, or the further processes, typhoids, pneumonias, ear infections, or heart attacks. Everything kind of pile up as these toxins build up. So psychological, mental rest. So did you rest enough? Did you thank your body for initiating such a much needed cleaning up, that decluttering, the acute healing crisis, COVID-19? Did you feel happy that you're washing away toxins? Because, the more these toxins build up in the system, you're going to stop it as with COVID-19, but these toxins are going to spill into other systems. You may get diagnosed with hypertension, you may get diagnosed with hypothyroidism or thyroid issues, diabetes, heart attacks. Cancers are on the rise because when we keep on interrupting these acute healing crises, the toxin keeps building up, then different kinds of manifestations of diseases take place. This is pure science. You don't need any kind of, big time studies or anything. A simple observation of these things are going to tell you what exactly we are doing to ourselves and where we are going wrong. How many times you panicked during this when you got the diagnosis of COVID-19, and then you call your loved ones, or you told everyone around you, and then they kept telling you what to do. Drink this kashayam, drink this tea, or do this, go to this doctor, he will kill you with some gomutra. How many of you did this? This is like every time I read this news, I'm like, dear God, can you stop this from happening? Everybody lost their logic during this COVID-19 crisis. When are you all going to wake up and then understand disease is built up within us? This is acute healing crisis. Our body opening up the pent-up valve in order to release these toxins. Otherwise, we will be blowing up like a time bomb with these toxins that are built up in us. So let's look at it. I got COVID and I suffered scenarios. Like, for example, people are going to tell me, like a lot of them, they've been so much worried about COVID-19. They still are wearing a mask, they're walking around. Even my bosses, people around me. So my question is, how was your previous lifestyle? Was it like, did you have any other comorbid conditions in the form of heart failure, diabetes, high blood pressure, thyroid issues, obesity? How was your previous health being? What did you eat, drink, and think before you got the COVID-19? And how many medications were you on? See, there have been multiple things that came out, right? The Italian study that came out, people did not die from complications of COVID-19. They had other things that are going on, but they're found to be for positive for COVID-19. And this is what we've been seeing consistently. These people had multiple comorbid conditions. They were taking multiple medications. They were exposed to different kinds of medical procedures. All of them put together has drained out their vitality. On top of it, they took many experimental drugs, and then they were tested positive for COVID-19 because they were swabbing every patient in the hospital everywhere with a COVID-19 swab. And then they said, oh, the deaths were due to COVID-19. But then they ignored everything. How sick were they from the beginning? How many medications, how many toxins they were taking? None of them came into play. Only thing they said was COVID-19 took their life, which is really like, are we even thinking the right way? Is it the way to do a scientific study? I really don't think so. And I think people need to get over this fear of COVID-19 and start thinking much more reasonably and, in a better way with proper clarity of thoughts. So this is a quick run around. So what happens? But this is they make us read. So I don't know if anybody of you have any medicals at home. These kids, like I was a med student, so we read this many thick textbooks. Every year they pile up. But all those textbooks, the essence of it is this in this one slide. As toxemia builds up, we go through, when we don't release them properly, we go through different stages of disease. These are the 7 stages of disease. Starts out from innervation, where our lifestyle is such a wacko, we don't properly conserve our energy. Then the toxemia builds up, then all kinds of diseases in the form of irritation, gastritis, coronary artery disease, atherosclerosis, all these inflammations build up, then the heart attacks, heart failure, kidney failures, and then the terminal step when the vitality is gone with with accumulated toxins, this is cancer. So this is the essence of multiple. If there is any doctor that's listening to me, please, this is what it is. This is like that textbooks, the pathology textbook, Robbins, that we read day in and day out for 1.5 years in med school. This is it. This slide is the one that explains everything that contained in the pathology textbook of Robbins. So people sometimes ask us when cancer begins. As hygienists and life scientists, we say that it begins with the first cold or the rash of the childhood. The first crisis a baby endures to begin the pathological chain that leads to cancer. So when that cold is suppressed, when that first fever is suppressed, that's when the toxins build up. And then as life goes on, that's when we see the manifestation of cancer. So that's the basic essence of what natural hygiene has been teaching me. I graduated in 2002, internship was in 2001, and then my internal medicine residency, then cardiology fellowship, and then 10 years of working. I never found answers. Every day I would go to work and then write these prescriptions and then walk out thinking like I've never made any difference in anyone's life or anybody. They just keep coming back. One day they come with hypertension. After a few years, they come back with heart attack, then heart failure, then a heart transplant. Nothing I did made any change in their life or it didn't really help them. But once I discovered nature cures, like for me, everything is like, it's Alice in Wonderland. That's how I feel like I'm like exploring, reading up, trying to connect what I learned for the past 20 years with what I need to know. But natural hygiene and natural nature cures is the way to going forward if you really want to get your health into control and understand what disease actually is. So if you don't understand the nature of diseases, then you will always believe that you need to be cured. But the disease itself, the acute healing crisis, the fever, cold, or flu, they themselves are the cure. You don't need to cure them. That's the cure. Your body has all the inputs that are built up in it. So everything nature has already figured out, okay, this human is going to create errors of natural principles. So how should I protect him? Okay, I'll build a cold and a fever for him so that he can release these toxins out. Again, every input has been worked up by Mother Nature or God, whoever has created us in such a fine way. No scientist can ever build such a fine design ever. So in a nutshell, people keep saying I had COVID-19 because these people haven't learned exactly what acute healing crisis is. So some people were like, it's basically like a flu. Like COVID-19 is nothing but a flu. So that's better informed. But the best informed person is I had an acute healing crisis and I was detoxing. That's why cold is nothing but the toxins that are coming out in the system in the form of a mucus, or my fever is nothing but the toxins that are going everywhere in order to for the kidneys and the lungs and everything to be removed. So health is not about absence of fever. Actually, fever is a blessing. Fever is the cure, but the potentiality of the body to raise a fever whenever it is needed to expel the excess toxins from the body. So never ever fear a panic, a fever or a cold. Actually, it's a good sign of vitality in your body. It's a sign that the body has always been trying to clean you up and protect you from long-term diseases. Fever is a needful initiative of the body. Fevers protect us from long-term chronic conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attacks, cancers. Fever is a protective mechanism because fever removes the toxins in our body. Now, so let's recap the last 2 years. So, if my body is shedding toxins to clean up in the form of fever, cough, and cold, why are we trying to stop it? Why are we running to get these medications in the form of ivermectin, HCQ, remdesivir, monoclonals? What are they doing to us when the fever itself is the cure? Why are we putting these chemicals into our system? Why are we suppressing fevers and coughs and colds? What will these do to my body when I stop this toxin shed and then the above chemicals are added to our body? So this is when you start interfering with the natural mechanisms of releasing toxins. This is when the body, and then you start putting all these experimental drugs and then all these exposure to tests and all these things. That's when things go south. That's when patients deteriorate. That's when these deaths have been happening. That's when we started blaming an acute healing crisis for a death. Actually, the healing crisis was the protective mechanism. It's like this half an hour. I don't know who is listening to it, but if this topic is really new to you, please explore more. We can provide you more on these things. But I think it's time for you to wake up and then really apply some logic to what has been happening for the past 2 years with this crisis. So, what should we do moving forward to detox or have an acute, dignified acute healing crisis? First, improve your lifestyle. Eat well. Eat whatever that's meant to be eaten by us, not any kind of abnormal complex foods. We are meant to be eating as simple as we can as human beings. Fruits are our friends, vegetables, and little bit of grains. That's what we are supposed to be eating, not a dairy laden food, not a meat laden food. That's when they start rotting in our tummy, and then that's when issues start. So live right with healthfully as well as think better. When we mount a fever, cold, or a cough, thank it and stop going for a testing. Thank your body for raising the fever or the cold, and also follow the 3 P's, that is mental rest, digestive rest, and physical rest. Fast, fast, fast. Stop eating. You don't eat chicken for corona. That's when the stomach, that's when the rotting happens in the stomach. And that's when the crisis, that's when things go south or people get, they deteriorate. Follow, always follow natural laws. So this is what we should be doing for any kind of flu or a COVID-19. Now they're going to come up with a Hanta or Shanghai or some kind of a crisis. It's brewing, it's coming. So now what do you do? First of all, listen to us. Don't go for testing. Start fasting and live rightfully. That's the best thing you have to do at this point. No more testing, no more experimental drugs, no more panic. I think it's time we stand up and take things under control. So now let's go back to the testing one more time. So what does this test do? Have you ever asked a doctor, do they know how a test works? Because even I couldn't figure out. All these years I've been asking everybody how to explain to me how a test works, but nobody was able to explain to me. A papaya can get tested positive, a goat can get tested positive, a asymptomatic patient can get tested positive. They did a Coca-Cola test, I think in Austrian parliament, and it came back tested positive. Tap water was positive, sheep was positive, everything they tested came back positive. If even if the air around it is making it get tested positive, how can you trust a test that is not, it's even worse than flipping a coin in order to call yourself COVID-19 positive. So let's start questioning it at this point. I think we played enough of ignorance and innocence games at this point. I think if we really want to, like, take control of the things as public, we need to wake up and then start questioning all these things rather than lining up for testing, lining up for vaccinations, or lining up for more CT scans or for more doctors' advices. So this is what we've been seeing. So what are we seeing with increased toxemia? This has been sent out to United States Senate. This is from February 2022. This is from military people. So military VA hospital has these that huge amount of medical records as a database. So they vaccinated left and right and center. Everybody, in the army. If they did not, then they let them go. They terminated them. So that's what they did. So what they have seen is, like, the numbers are right here if you want to see increase in hypertension, diseases of nervous system. It's like 2000% increase, 1000% increase. It's not even like a small blip. It's like the percentage increase is like the huge shift in this. And this is what I've been observing too, day in and day out. Like, I do holistic care and I get a lot of consults from India and all over. So people are like, oh, I knew I was doing fine. I got tested for diabetes as a part of workup, and then now I'm diabetic. 3 months ago, it was normal. Or I was never diagnosed with hypertension, but my blood pressure has gone up after 3 doses of booster, including a booster. Coronary artery disease, people dropping dead. This is not the norm, or this is not what we used to see. Like, the intervention took place and then suddenly these changes are happening. So I mean, I think it's enough. We shouldn't be like playing this naive game anymore, and we have to really start working together and think more loudly. So this is from Shankar Shetty. He's a South African holistic doctor. So the deaths, so what he says is the deaths that are meant to follow vaccinations will never be able to be pinned on the poison because they will be too diverse, there will be too many, and they will be too broad a time frame for us to even understand that we've been poisoned. And he said exactly what we've been saying and what we've been observing multiple times for the past 100 years since they introduced different concepts of vaccination. I mean, he's worded perfectly well, and the credit really goes to him. It's like you never know. 5 years from now, they're going to be cancer diagnosis, and we don't even want to connect it to the 3 booster doses we took or a heart attack that happens. But the thing is, toxemia, it builds up. Remember, as they keep building up with the lifestyle, the toxins, and everything they build up, that's they manifest as different forms of illnesses. So it's not going to happen overnight. People are going to say, I took four, I'm doing so well, you shouldn't be worried about it. The thing is, you never know. The different people have different levels of toxemia, and how they manifest, how they brew in us, it's entirely different, and you can never predict what happens. So this is basically what happens. So initially, then you may see immediate damage. Initially, you may see different damages, but then to the DNA damage, blood clots, the short clots, that's what we are calling them, allergic reactions. Immediate reactions may not be visible in a lot of people, but then toxemia builds up in the community. Lot more cancers, lot more sudden deaths, lot more heart attacks. We just have to brace ourselves for what more we are going to see. I mean, I think we have seen enough, but more is going to come down the pipeline. So, finally, the greatest evil trick that's played upon mankind was teaching man that his body's self cleaning programs, that is, acute healing crises, are diseases that require poison for treatment. Poison in this form of experimental drugs, in the form of vaccinations, in the form of suppressive treatments, anything, any kind of interference you do to this acute healing crisis, you are interfering with the major, you're really messing up big time with that. So, what did we do? I mean, people are like, why? How many more tests do you want for a simple acute healing crisis, which is a protective mechanism? How many tests, how many chemicals, and how many days of isolations do you want in order to, for these protective mechanisms to unload the toxins? I mean, I hope by now everybody came out of this spell that they put on us. I mean, like, everything is like all protective mechanisms have been blamed as the villains, but actually those are the protectors. So how many more children need to be have to be buried before parents learn what is health and what is detoxing? So parents were vaccinating in order to prevent a fever and a cold, which would prevent your child from having anything big time in their lifetime. I mean, my every time I look at this, I have to present these children. I have to show these faces of these children because they they are the innocent victims. They've been buried. I mean, every time I keep thinking about these things, I keep thinking like, wish I spoke up more. I said more about it, but the thing is, it's not getting into any of the masses or into the public. But I think things are getting little better. But still, we just need to get hold of our basic logic. Again, this is another vaccine mishap. How many of us are going to keep seeking these damages? How many more deaths? So they're saying boosters every 9 months. Are you going to line up, or are you going to take control of your health? Are you going to understand what health actually is, what an acute healing crisis is, what actually was COVID-19 or a flu? Or are you going to stand up in the lines again and again for your 6 to 9 monthly boosters just because you're deficient on your toxins? So people are like, they are said it's for your security, but then the security itself is gobbling up our liberty. So our freedoms are gone. I don't even know what is left for us anymore. Now, the bill that's passed in India saying that questioning the government itself is illegal or something like you cannot say no to get tested. All these things are coming up. Our liberties, one by the time we realize they're all gone. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. You guys want to wake up or you still want to be gobbled up in this? Your children are really going to pay price for it, but I can't do anything about it other than educating others. So again, today I think the concept was more for a monoclonal antibody thing, but I kind of hijacked it in order to explain to you what is COVID-19 in simple terms. Because the thing is, all this research that they do, I've been part of multiple research projects because for the past 20 years I've been involved in this, right? A body is unique and they don't even clue in, plug in toxemia into it, but they want to put in more toxins in order to study what happens to the levels of toxemia. So it's the place where the mainstream science and medicine has come up to is really in a disgusting place. Like at this point, I really think people need to wake up, start regurgitating all these statistics and these numbers and everything because they're cherry picking what they want to do. They want to say, not this scientist, I want this scientist, not this study, we want. I mean, like, how do you say, why do you not let us question anything? When we are questioning you, you have the answers, then give them to us, or find more, go do more research and come back with answers. Rather than that, why are they suppressing it? From day one of the COVID-19 or whatever this pandemic has been, all I have seen is suppression of the truth. Nothing. We can't question anything. If they tell us, if you need your job, you need to line up and get it done, get this toxin done. I've been like, I was called a critical thinker for years, and then once I started questioning about COVID-19, they called me. Everything looks yellow to the jaundiced eye. That's what they said. So it's your thing. The manufacturer is not responsible. It's Serum, Bharat Biotech, Pfizer, Moderna. They're not responsible. The government is not responsible, even though they're saying them as mandates. You need to line up. Or the vaccinating doctor, he has no clue what he's doing. But you are supposed to be vaccinated. Otherwise, you are irresponsible. So that brings us to this whole thing about either it's in your hand. Either you pave your way towards great resist, or you learn what is health, you know what is acute healing crisis, you learn how to not go get tested. See, if there was nobody standing in line to get tested, there was no way they would have cooked up these numbers and told us about started this whole thing. Stop standing in the line for testing. That's the best thing you can do. Resist it. Otherwise, they'll gobble us up. I think that's where I am with what my the whole thing is. Dr. Shiva, Reddy, it's up now. It's yours now.
Wonderful. I think I cannot ask something better when Dr. TSPR channel, the main channel, has been blocked, and you have given the best impetus to uh, the freedom, and you clearly stated what science is and how it should be. A simple fever. That's what I'm trying to. I have to.
Yeah, it's a fever. So when did we ever get tested for a fever or a cold? When was the last time? Why are we even getting tested now? So if it's the same cold, it's the same fever, it's the same thing.
I know. 1 second. Yeah, now I'll come back. I think you are still the. 1 second. Here I have to come. Let me become. That's what I keep telling people. Go back to our earlier lifestyles, then you will understand. See, I keep telling them, when you eat, just check yourself when you start eating how hot your body is. Once when you finish 1 to 1.5 hours into your eating, then you check, you will be hot. That is the beauty of the body. Whatever you have taken, that food is being digested and assimilated. That's what it keeps telling you. Hey, I am very comfortable because whatever you have taken into your stomach, I am trying to distribute, at the same time seeing to that I am releasing the toxins. When you become hot, either you sweat, and there are so many other mechanisms through which body heals itself. That is why yesteryears in our lifestyles, whether it is Hindus, and we see Muslims also fasting now, they fast, but okay, they have got different ways of eating food again. That is another thing which is left to the individual's liberty. But here in Hindu, we keep fasting regularly. In our Hindu mythological calendar, every month and in every week you have certain specific days marked out as per their dietary concerns. They fast. Why do they do? Dr. Prashanti, I think she has explained it very
Yeah,
true.
why did they do is for cleanup. That's
That's what.
because a digestive break. We are not multitaskers, and constantly eating is not the right thing to do. Body needs time and space to process and to repair and eliminate the toxins. We have to give lots of importance for elimination of toxins. So people in India, what they do, I mean, all over the world, at 7 in the morning when they wake up, the first start is a cup of coffee, and then they go to whatever respective meal they have to eat. That's the worst thing anybody could do. Your body is not in a state of digestion at that point at 7 in the morning. Until the sun comes up, the digestive enzymes are not at peak. Do not eat anything or just eat some fruit. That's the best thing anybody could do. But instead of that, we want our protein shake, we want our high protein, high calorie, whatever the myths they want to sell, they keep selling, and then they keep making us sick.
Wonderful. Because everything is psychosomatic, as you rightly said. The mind, it is our mind, thinking mind.
Yeah,
When it goes
it's too
astray,
much like.
you
Yeah,
fill
no,
up
I
your
mean,
stomach.
I don't often visit India. So the last time I came was in 2000. It's been a while, but 2019 when I came after 10 years, I was shocked to see what they have. Like, these protein shakes, like airports were lined up with all that. I mean, even here we don't see that much. Most of it is like industrial waste. They have marketed it and they put it in the bottles. They bottle them, marketed it as health drinks or something. But if you really look at it, they are industrial waste that they are dumping it into humans.
That's a big statement. Industrial waste dumping into human bodies, and we try to buy it in the fame of shakes and so what not. And I think this is the best show, and at least now the world should wake up. We bring only truth, and she has beautifully presented. And if you want to equate it with your gem theory, we are most welcome. You can come, we can discuss. See, the beauty of this world is you discuss, debate, and you decisively decide. That is democracy. And how can you suppress? Yesterday's show also, when we are trying to project all those videos which were there in the public domain, and when we are questioning the Nobel Peace Prize being awarded to someone in Texas in the name of Corbevax vaccine, which is linked to biological E, Corbevax, which they were trying to market it as antivenomous, very clearly with all evidences. When they put it out, they are trying to suppress. See, all of Twitter since yesterday night, today YouTube, these fellows will go astray. And mind you, through this show, we are challenging you to come and debate. You don't give me a notice. All of a sudden, you pull it off. Who gave you that power? You will pay for it. Believe me, you will pay for it, because we speak science, we speak truth, and we speak only on the rights being curbed of the people, because you should allow them to decide. When can they decide? If you give them proper information, correct information. That too, we are giving you with all evidences. We keep telling you, prove us wrong. And here also, so scientifically, so beautifully, when you allow the body, your mind, that means put together human entity, if you allow the human entity to reconcile itself with any given problem, so called, the modern terminologies, dis-ease. Ease means your comfort. Your mind is upset, your stomach is upset, physically you are very, 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 very irritable. These are all the signs and symptoms of the body. Then how do you allow it to recover? As she clearly, very clearly, distinguished, I think this is the cleanest PPT I have seen ever. So simple, so neat, so clear. A common man can understand. Me loaded with so many things, as she asked me to relieve my mind. But what to do? So many guests coming up, so many people looking towards Dr. TSPR channel, though they try to hack like this. My mind is always into it to give them proper information. But when my preoccupied mind can gather so many things in a much simplified way, how is that the learned society, right from Indian Council of Medical Research, Director Control General of India, Indian Medical Association, all other concerned bodies, health ministries, state government, health departments, why are they keeping numb? They are keeping mum for what? Tomorrow it will reach your house. Why should you test for something which is very common cold and regular fevers? And yesterday also we were saying what all these things are made of, so many codons which he has defined, extracted from so and so, and for that codon again you are putting some poison into your body. So you are doubly poisoning your body. The simplest way, relieve, relax, the rest from mind to the physical rest. And when you have both mental and physical rest, believe me, your tummy, we say gut feeling, so many commensular bacteria, viruses are there. They will come to your rescue, believe me. Yeah, Pritam ji, I think Dr. Prashanti has done it really well. And shall I make you a presenter so that you can also present that document from in,
Slide with me. I'm on mobile phone today, so I'll just acknowledge and share my personal experience.
yeah.
That is purely slides.
Shall I make you a presenter?
Not needed.
Because I wanted you to present that All India Institute of Medical Sciences, that RTI paper, which clearly says all these deaths were because of remdesivir and ventilator. Now they can always be correlated with what Dr. Prashanti has presented now. This is the truth. Now what should we do? YouTube and Twitter. We are presenting only truth. We are all professionals
Yeah,
here.
it's their material. It's just their material we are talking. I mean, whatever they have, it's open in the air. We are just asking few questions for them to explain to us. And
Prove us wrong. What is there? We will try to practice whatever you preach. You convince us in a scientific way, in a practical way. We are ready to accept it. You don't do that. You don't give us any information. You don't want to discuss. The worst part is, how can we call these countries are democracies when there is no discussion, Dr. Prashanti and Mr. Preetham, on the floor of the parliament or assemblies worldwide? They don't discuss it. Such a big pandemic, they say it is affecting the entire world, but nowhere I see they are discussing this issue in a transparent and accountable way. As you rightly pointed out, manufacturer of vaccines, manufacturer of medicines, remdesivir, Covishield, Covaxin, cocktails, they are not responsible. Government, not responsible. Media, which daily gives headlines, it is not responsible. Courts, they don't want to accept or anything, they are also not responsible. But all these people put together, they are enforcing mandates. Why? And who are these people? They are just in a minority. They are public servants as per the constitution provisions. We owed them, politicians or representatives, and judiciary media, whatever you call the administrative hierarchy, executive, they are all paid servants to take care of our welfare and development in a transparent way. And that when health matters, you are not informing me. Yes, Preetham ji, go ahead. I think you may add many things.
And which will correlate to what Dr. Prasanti has been speaking in the slides. So it was something around 2008, and I was at peak of my career that point of time, working in one of the largest IT companies in the globe. We saw that executive health checkup at Fortis request for work. Test report said that you have numerous diseases. You have fatty liver, you have a cardio problem, you have uric acid that is very high, you have high sugar level. And they said you might need to start some 20-30 tablets and syrups and all of that. And I was not convinced. And that too, I asked that how many days? Because you have been giving me 1 week of antibiotics. Almost every month I come to you and you give me Benadryl and all that. And let's just say that you have this regular cough and cold and fever problem. And because of the weather condition in Bangalore that is not suiting you. So I have to go. I have to be very thankful and grateful to them that they are giving me so many medicine and that is helping me to cure. But when it reaches a stage wherein they said you have to take this 20-30 tablets and syrup throughout your life, I was confused. So I was insisting that there might be some different way. because remembering some medicines in the breakfast and some in the lunch and some in the dinner, in between also you have given some, and it is very difficult to maintain that. So they said, no, there is no other way. We'll have to do that. Dietitian was confused. So they were working on the elimination of different diet, and they were not able to figure out that what should be my diet based on so many factors which were visible in the test report. So that is where my journey started. I started exploring that there must be a different way. And I used to listen to Baba Ramdev used to talk about this fatty liver and uric acid. That something I did not know earlier. But I started listening to him, and then I started exploring that how he works on resolving these issues. Parallelly, also work on the dietary side of it because the dietitian were confused. So I purchased all these medicines, but I did not consume even one. 3 months I followed the two round of yoga, one in the morning, one in the evening, and changed my diet, which was again more on the raw and fruits and vegetable and the fasting. 3 months I went again to Fortis, and they said, "Ki now can you do another test?" This is what I have done, and the test everything was normal. There was nothing which was visible there. Whatever was visible in the previous report, uric acid and fatty liver and high triglycerides, everything was normal. And they were confused. They say something has gone wrong in the second test. They did not look at the first test, second test, something is wrong. We want to do the test again. I said, okay, fine, we'll do the test, but again, this time I want to do it in Apollo. So I have already done two tests with you. Second test, third test, I'll do it Apollo. And Apollo, I tested again, and they also said, yes, everything is normal. So 2008, and today it is 2022. And what I want to say is that after that, I never ever needed even a single pill. Right from the situation wherein I was one of the regular consumer, wherein one course of antibiotic was a norm, and for how many years? 14 years, I never needed a single pill. Right, so there I was taking Comiclaim. I used to carry Hygiene along with me all the time. I used to have a set of antibiotics which was there, Benadryl and many other cough syrup. So this worked, but again, whenever I used to recommend this to other people, they used to say, "You are not doctor, you are not qualified." And we cannot. Even my family, they were like resting that yes, the doctors have said that you need to take this medicine, so take. But again, looking at the situation wherein I never needed Comiclaim again, I never needed antibiotics again. So they knew, but I was not able to explain that what is the science behind it, right? And the doctors, when they meet, they say, no, no, something is not right thing. We should follow what is recommended by the doctors. So I started becoming what you call started studying the different papers which are published in medical journal. Started looking for different school of thoughts and different perspectives, and that started giving me a viewpoint that what worked for me, and that is what Dr. Prasanti was explaining. That I had a huge toxic load. I was a typical IT guy, and weekend parties and all of that, it was a regular thing. But when I changed it, everything went off. Right, I moved to the yogic lifestyle. My dincharya changed, my ritucharya changed. I started doing meditation once again, and all of that transformed my life. So that is what was my experience, and that is where when this entire drama or whatever we call pandemic or a scam started looking for what is exactly happening in Wuhan, right? City of Wuhan, and that is where I was looking for the scientific paper which were published by the scientists in China. They said, in spite of official communication that it is because of novel coronavirus, the evidence doesn't suggest that. They said only 20% people had a viral load, and this particular SARS-CoV-2 was isolated in only a couple of people. Rest all they did not have a viral load also. So that was the start of my research, and they started looking for that what was the region that those 45 people got impacted, and that is where again I would give credit to Dr. Prasanti, because she is the one who is to share about 5G, and that was the time I was like that she is one activist and she blames everything. That was the thing, so I ignored her messages at that point of time. But I was working on 5G. I was looking for that how I can design a driverless vehicles, and then the transformation which can be done with 5G from IoT perspective. So that is where I started searching for that. If it was not related to some virus or something, what exactly happened in Wuhan? That is a simple curiosity which will come to any researcher who would like to know more about it. And that is where I started searching, researching, finding out that what is happening in Wuhan. So one thing I came across is that Wuhan is a IoT hub of China, and they had deployed 60 gigahertz millimeter wave for vehicles which are driverless vehicles. That testing was going on as a part of the European Union and China deal, wherein three other cities were selected. But here in Wuhan, they selected 60 gigahertz. That was the unlicensed band, wherein the radiation doesn't travel more than 100 to 200 meters. And that again caused more curiosity, because 4G can one antenna can cover around 5 kilometer radius, but this particular 60 gigahertz millimeter wave, which was deployed at the large scale, if I remember correctly, 10,000 antennas were deployed in city of Wuhan. And December to February mid, that massive testing of the city was going on. Then I started searching for what happens exactly, that why is the radiation, radiation doesn't travel. Being qualified as an industrial electronics, being an industrial electronics, first wanted to know more about it, what happened there. There I figured out that the radiation at this particular frequency gets absorbed in oxygen. So when you have a radiation absorbed in oxygen, definitely is going to be already radiated oxygen, right, which can cause some respiratory issues. I could not figure out more about it, but still, as a researcher, I found this as one of the potential root causes. I started studying further, and that is where I figured out that Wuhan city, there was a very high level of PM2.5 that was in severe condition, and there the protocol says that severity of PM2.5 is exactly the same as what is being positioned as a SARS-CoV. So that is another finding, and started searching, researching whether when we have such high radiation, whether that can cause high particulate matter, because this corona name itself was given for the electromagnetic discharge from the high power transmission line. That is where they call it the corona discharge. So that also causes similar issues. But I could not, before pandemic was announced across the globe, China had flattened the curve. 18th February 2020, they announced that we have flattened the curve, and they started searching for how did they flatten the curve. And that is where I could figure out that they have used turmeric, ginger, garlic, Tibetan medicine, TCM, and yin and yang therapy. And they said that we had turmeric. I looked at the clinical trial, because by the time WHO was super active with promoting remdesivir, and we were looking for the clinical trial record, which started what is happening there. And I found that China terminated a clinical trial of remdesivir, citing that we don't have even a single patient in any of the COVID clinic or COVID hospital or anywhere else. There's not a single COVID patient. So we don't have option to initiate a clinical trial of remdesivir. So they announced that we have flattened. And that is where I got suspicion that why is that it is being announced across the globe? What is happening in different countries? Where in the number of cases, because there are two things. One is that if you look at the classical definition of disease, then it has to be back to the symptoms. The classical definition of disease says symptoms are scope to COVID. Because severe acute respiratory syndrome was not really visible at the large scale anywhere in the world, except what happened in Wuhan for that duration. Other considered there were some issues, but at the same time, I found that probably the 99.99% people, in spite of tested positive, they did not exhibit any kind of symptoms. When we look at the science or scientific 0.00 people percent people were showing symptoms, the conclusion statement become that there is a nil or negligible evidence to prove that a particular microorganism of SARS-CoV-2 can really impact people. So that was another viewpoint. And if you look at Indian situation, since they announced something around March 2020, in 2021, there was no major issues. The people who died, they were asymptomatic, they were picked up from home, they were subjected to different treatment, whether it is remdesivir and favipiravir or ivermectin, all of that. When I look at the track record of this medicines, I found that all these medicines were terminated, suspended, withdrawn during clinical trial across the globe, with a similar issues which people were facing, were asymptomatic, and they died because of this treatment. And then when I started looking for deeper into it, I found that there's a change in the Clinical Trial Act in India, and there any kind of medicine, whether it is remdesivir, whether it is skin allergy medicine, anything, everything can be leveraged for a COVID treatment. And another thing, what I found is there is a large scale violation of the right to the choice treatment. People did not have a choice to have go with a nature cure diet or naturopathy or any other things. Everybody were pushed to go for with a unethical, unscientific solidarity trial, which was promoted by WHO. So that was my view. And at the same time, I found that different countries, the date of the launch of coronagraph and date of commercial launch of 5G was exactly the same. I looked at the data of Norway. That was 13th Feb. The commercial launch of 5G happened, and that is where they launched the chronograph also. Same thing I found on in China. 25th March was the date of commercial. It's Japan. The 25th March is the date of commercial launch of 5G. And the same date they launched the chronograph. US also different state. I looked at that when they are launching the commercial 5G, and exactly the same date the chronograph was launched. So it came very clear that they are aware, they know that when the commercial launch of 5G is happening, whether it is 26 gigahertz or whether it is 60 gigahertz, it will have impact. The 26 gigahertz radiation gets absorbed in water molecule, and 60 gigahertz, which was experimented in Wuhan, was getting absorbed in uh, oxygen. So that is where the severity in Wuhan was very high compared to the other location. At the same time, the other correlation also was visible, whether it is Italy or Japan or different location. It was also another co-factor that was a PM2.5. So these were my observation, and that is where I started going deeper into it, and I felt a need that it's high time I need to move out from corporate and go deeper into it, because when you are in corporate, that you need to align to the version which is being communicated from the corporate sector. You cannot be in conflicting situations. So I decided to quit. I submitted my resignation in sometime in August 2021, and I'm out. And that is where I started coming public to share more about it. Current situation, what I see is that Shanghai and Beijing, they did not face any problem when the situation was there in Wuhan. They say that it is human to human transmission, but even WHO had published almost everywhere, there's no scientific evidence of human to human transmission, because it did not impact any other city in China. If it is something to do with human to human transmission, it would have impacted everywhere, because Wuhan is one of the city which is well connected across the globe, and nothing happened other than that city. Now today, we see that Shanghai, there is a severe lockdown which is happening, and at the same time, the radiation is spreading across China, which was restricted to only few cities with a few antenna, but it is increasing at rapid speed. Now we need to look at what do we do, right? Because they know, it is evident that they are aware. This is something which is being blamed on innocent microorganism. I also looked at this particular microorganism, the history, when it was named for the first time. I found that 1930 the coronavirus was named, and that point of time it was there in the cows and dogs and cats and horses. Almost everywhere it was there. It was tested. It was 1960 when it was tested in human being. It was called HCOV, human coronavirus, and two different name was given to that. One was OC43 and another one was HKV221, if I remember correctly. And what they say that it is a back to human transmission which happened in 2019. Even 1960 itself, back to human transmission was concluded. So if it is already transmitted to human being and if it mutates at rapid speed, for last 60 years or more, we already have this microorganism which is mutating and spreading all across. I asked this question to one of the principal scientists in CISIR, that is there any way to conclude scientifically what you are testing today, that is glycoprotein or nucleic acid or spike protein, it did not exist before we started testing. Is any evidence of that? They said yes. There's no evidence to conclude that what we are testing today did not exist earlier. So that was another thing I found, that maybe people who are asymptomatic, they already have this for very, very long time. Then my research moved towards that, who are the people who got impacted? What is the common factor in them? And that is where I came across the data that people who died with experimental medicine or whatever, which was going under solidarity trial, they had one common factor. They had diabetes, hypertension, or any other chronic illnesses. And the worldometer data said that 97.3% people who have died, and the probability of people dying with this COVID is high with the people with chronic illnesses. And then I went deeper into it, that what is the common factor in people with the chronic illnesses. And that is where I realized that they have one common factor called gut dysbiosis. And gut dysbiosis is nothing but a toxic load accumulated in the gastrointestinal tract. And my research, which I'm concluding now as a fellow in Gandhian Philosophy in Public Health, is similar to what Dr. Prasanthi said, that every disease has root of toxin accumulation in the intestinal tract. And whether you look at Ayurveda, whether you look at Siddha or Unani or naturopathy or nature cure, one of the common factor is to provide a binding agent which can bind the toxin accumulation in gastrointestinal tract, and it works on flushing out. Whether we use a tablet from Ayurvedic perspective, or we use a herbs from the Ayurvedic perspective, or we go with a nature cure diet, it works on cleansing the entire gastrointestinal tract, wherein the body has a self-healing ability, it can heal itself. So that is my conclusion after 6 months of fellowship. And what I see is that going forward, the radiation is going to come to India as well, like other countries. And one of the major impact what people would face is a dehydration, which even WHO cannot deny. The ICNRP, one of the most fraudulent organizations, even they cannot deny that skin temperature increases when we are subjected to radiation. And we call it as a fever. So skin temperature will definitely increase, and body will work on fighting it back, will look at option to adjust the body frequency with the frequency which is being exposed or everybody is getting subjected to. That is a time period. What I see is that we need to go back to the nature cure diet. We should improve our water consumption. We should make sure that we maintain hydration, because one of the major impact, as I said, is a dehydration and increase in the temperature of the skin. So when to look at how do we increase the water consumption, go with more of raw, that is only step here, is what I see. So I see that they've started talking about launching another wave sometime in August, July, August or time frame. A lot of communication is coming with some predictive analysis. I really don't understand what is the basis of those predictive analysis. And Health Minister, Government of Karnataka has spoken about it. The similar communication coming from Maharashtra. Delhi, they have started increasing the testing again. So when they increase the testing, number will increase with a microorganism or a protein, which I feel that it is already existing in all of us. And even if there's a transmission which happened from the bat
But
to
Mr. Preetham,
transmission in 1968, is it?
but Mr. Preetham, how genuine these tests are? I think I would have loved to have Dr. Prashanthi playing her PPT once again. You have seen the South African country's president going with papaya and other things when they put it for test. Right, COVID acting. Now, thousands of
They were
people in
Twitter
the stadium.
releases. I got tested for COVID. Stay safe. Yeah, I know all the movie people. We saw all the Twitter releases. Now and then they would just like everybody took a round of releasing it.
Even the politicians, see our Rahul Gandhi. See,
Yeah.
not only we don't blame Prime Minister. Rahul Gandhi says, I have advised
Even in
booster.
Assam, they did.
I have advised booster. I said, I was asking him, sir, kindly preach us science. Because under UPA regime, all these million glades, they started to move away from the regular health department or Indian Union Health Ministry or state government health departments controlled public health to private. What is that organization? Public Health Foundation of India. Am I right? PHFI.
PHP.
So that is how they started. And who are they to take care of our health? Yeah, that is million. And governments are being dictated by them. Now we are asking, are these tests 100%? You prove us that these tests, RT-PCR tests, can be trusted 100%. They are the ones diagnosing only COVID-19 or Corona, which if it exists. The Supreme Court has to come clear now. And the Twitter and YouTube, we are not going to leave them. You are trying to create a havoc and panic amongst the people. And who are you? You are being public funded. You are looting public information, public mind, their resources, mental resources, and their money. And you are trying to hijack that for the sake of few who are trying to impose their will in the name of health, creating panic. Yes, Pritam ji. She is very clear. No test should be done.
Joshi at British Medical Journal, he has written many papers wherein he talked about this RT-PCR, which can provide either 50% false positive or 50% false negative. All these questions are already raised. Many have been raising it, but who is listening? That is the main point. And not only now, maybe around 78 years ago, Gandhiji has spoken about it. And that was the reason I moved to playing a role as a health, Gandhian philosophy. And I was amazed to see what Gandhi had written at the time of smallpox. He said that I will not allow anybody to get vaccinated in Sabarmati Ashram with a smallpox vaccine. And that is the time he had already booked to Nature Cure. He was working actively. He was treating people. He was setting up foundation of Nature Cure in India at the time. He said that people who are vaccinated, right? They have got smallpox. So there's no scientific evidence to say that if you even if you get a smallpox, you will not get a smallpox, right? So the people who are vaccinated with the smallpox can get infected, can spread the virus to other people. And what is happening today? Government of India has published that the people who are fully vaccinated with double dose can get infected, they can spread the virus in other people. So keep on wearing the mask, keep on maintaining the social distance. Okay? So where are we heading? Where is the science?
Never ending.
Every
It is never ending. See, we will come one by one. Now, you see, first the test, RT-PCR test, you can test anything positive, right from papaya to air or water, sheep, goat. Then Supreme Court, I am asking Supreme Court very clearly, because these Twitters and these YouTubers, they are creating havoc. Should not they be prosecuted? CDC, FDA, they are silent. If they can test positive, how is that you are believing those tests, and why are you indulging in the tests all of a sudden? You don't test in such huge stadiums because of IPL, that is other cryptocurrency funding. How they are trying to sell the sport. They are buying cricketers here, creating, and then you have presented another treatment aspect, that RTA document of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Nagpur. It clearly states those deaths were because of remdesivir, and the deaths, most deaths are because of ventilator. So let us assume false tests, creating panic, forcing people to rush to the hospitals, and when they go to the hospitals, this RTA document makes it very clear that these deaths are because of the drug trials. I say yesterday also we said, does remdesivir contain venomous thing or not? Is there any poison in that or not? So that RTA information very clearly aims Nagpur. Let them prove us wrong. Indian government, and including Twitter and YouTube, you will face the music. These Twitter and YouTubes. Don't you think? Don't you think that the deaths are because of remdesivir and ventilator? Now treatment I am coming. False tests, creating panic, forcing people to rush to the hospitals. In the hospitals, drug trials, including ventilators. Don't you think these are the reasons why they are dying now?
Absolutely. So Bangalore, around 40 people who are asymptomatic in phase 1 were picked up from home, sent to Victoria Hospital. 39 out of 40 people died. Ventilator. So that was initial experimentation of ventilator. And it continued in India until doctors in New York started publishing paper that 9 out of 10 people on ventilators are dying.
That's great news.
Right? Till ventilator was one of the common thing. Remdesivir also, the clinical trial data got published, which included the historical data that why remdesivir were terminated, suspended, withdrawn during Ebola and different epidemic across the globe. And the same number was coming during COVID as well. The number of people on the remdesivir dying was much higher than people. And that is what came out in the this recent study as well. The issue is that DCGI got a created a red carpet entry for any kind of medicine. They said that if you feel that the medicine may work for corona, you are allopathic, you come from pharmaceutical industry, will open a red carpet entry for you. You do not need to go for clinical trial. You do not need to scientific evidence. They approve this.
There is some
They said
disturbance in
science
your
is not,
voice.
scientific evidence is not needed. Clinical trial is not needed. It became a national clinical call. At the same time, what happened? They said any doctor who come from Ayush background, whether it is naturopathy or Ayurveda or homeopathy and Siddha, they claim that they can treat COVID. They would be FIR against the Tibetan medicine which China leveraged. They proudly say that we use the Tibetan medicine. It was
Yeah.
communicated to their headquarters in
No.
Dharamsala. If you provide the same medicine which was provided in China,
Right.
we'll shut down your center.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
that one side, the PM always talked about that we are promoting Ayush, and Ayush got banned formally in India as soon as the COVID storyline was launched in the country.
That's great news because we forced him and then he went for holistic bill in the parliament in April 2020. But after that, after he spoke, parroting that, he suddenly vanished. He suddenly started propagating vaccines. That too, believe me, January 2021, when there was absolute herd immunity, even in their own parameters. No one was getting infected, people were going around freely. That is when vaccination. Now we come to prevention. Don't you think this prevention should not be more harmful and dangerous than the original disease itself? And don't you think people have a right to know what are the ingredients in these vaccines? And when you are not allowing Ayurveda, naturopathy to be practiced in spite of holistic bill, and you are questioning, you are putting that scrutiny, including courts, then how is that you are allowing the treatment in the form of remdesivir and other medicines and prevention vaccines to go scot free? And that too, Bharat Mata and Gorakshak and RSS, when they say they are to protect cow, the cow's blood is there in covaxin, and they are being given Padma Bhushan awards. How do you look at this scenario, Dr. Prashanti? Is it lack of ignorance or manmani?
It's more a political. See, it's more a political thing. They know how to play the game well, and then the public really bought it. The day when we stopped doing believing this, and once we educated ourselves, what is health, what are these acute healing crises, and how do we treat, how to live rightfully. That's the most important thing. Stop consuming these industrial waste products and live your life the way, like what Preetam ji has been talking about, like the sattvic diet, and consuming fruits and vegetables and a little bit of grain are meant to be human foods, and fast on a regular basis so that you eliminate the toxins and then you don't build up these toxemias. If it's listen, the government is all sold out. There's no question about it. The farmer, they are all working, they are in bed together. So at this point, our main thing is to educate the public, educate the masses, tell them how to take care of things. That's when the real revolution is begin. That these studies, these testing, I gave up on them. There is no point. When they are cherry picking whatever the information they want to, they just want to publish what they want to. And none of these studies have been done in a proper way. Like they never line these patients up for comorbid conditions. Nobody, I never collected any data in my hospital. Nobody is collecting any data. Whatever they're showing is pretty much a concoction of manipulated versions. So the studies are useless. We know what to do. I think rather than wasting time on looking at these studies and everything, I think we should just go educate the masses how to do it. As an example, I tell you, I run people like couple of groups, holistic groups on WhatsApp, like with along with my other friends who are into all these things. We never allowed, people had fevers, people had COVID or whatnot. We told them, like cold. We told them never get tested. So they never got tested. We told them fast, sleep, never, don't even check your WhatsApp, sit still. For the next 48 hours, you're just going to be on water or diluted fruit juice, and then you're going to report back to us. They did that. No deaths, nobody went to hospitals, nothing happened. They detoxed fine. The acute healing crisis resolved, their health improved. And now, but all these people are like, we educated them from A, B, C, from the alphabets of nature cures and natural hygiene. So we've been doing that for the past 2 years, and then these are the results we saw. So they implemented it in their family members, their parents, everybody. No, nothing happened, no complications, nothing, because fever was the cure, cold was the cure. There is nothing we should do in order to interfere with any of this.
That's a big news coming. I
We
think
didn't
I
even do any, yeah, we didn't do any turmeric, ginger, no herbs, nothing. Fast, 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 as much as you can. Or if they're really thinking they're going to get dehydrated, then water was implemented, but on diluted fruit juice, but nothing else. So, listen, the truth is well known. I think rather than fighting, doing all
yeah,
these things, if we really move out,
yeah.
move away, then nothing will happen.
That's what
They're
we are
not going
trying
to
to do
change.
now. That's what we are trying
They're
to
not
do.
going to change. These people, the government is not going to change. Pharma is not going to change. One day, people are not going to just wake up and say, "Oh, we did a big mistake" or something like that. No, this has all been a part of the agenda. They're going to come back with more and more theatricals like this. More and more drama is going to happen. Our thing is, we need to people who know what is happening. We need to enlighten people, talk to them, and as simple as it has to be very simple. Eat well, eat properly. Do not intoxicate yourself with all this junk that is around.
Right.
So as Preetham himself said, right? Like for 1 year, they told him he has to take 30 different pills in 2008. This is the same thing I do. Like if you look at my WhatsApp display too, this is what I put. Like anybody, any doctor who prescribes less medications and asks you every time you go there, how can I cut down your medications or how can I help you? That's the best thing anybody can do at this point. Yeah, I mean the masses are very toxic. The amount of medications, the pollution, the wrong feeding. So yeah, we are going to see more and more of these things. It's going to happen until 2025 or 2030 as per the predictions. So we'll see.
But anyhow, shows like this, I think, will try to sensitize people because it's the public, because of thanks to the social media prevalence, which has become mainstream now, in spite of the setbacks which we are facing every time, every day for us to run around, in spite of
Mhm.
the care we have to take care of our families, but still, our interest is larger public interest. Until and unless we become responsible, it will come back to your home. So before we say bye, Dr. Prashanti and Mr. Preetham, Prashanti, can you just put few words in Telugu, and Mr. Preetham, you need to speak some two sentences to Amit Shah ji in Hindi also before we wind up. It's all, uh, you know, now it is very clear and
Yeah.
evident. This is a big show. The truth is out now. The truth is what is for all to see, which has been clearly evidenced. Yes, Dr. Prashanti, we'll start with you in some words in Telugu.
So తెలుగులో మాట్లాడాలా? ఓకే.
No.
అందరికీ ఇప్పుడు దాకా అర్థమయ్యే ఉంటది. మీకు జ్వరం అంటే ఏంటో, జలుబు అంటే ఏంటో ఒక అరగంటలో చెప్పటం చాలా కష్టం. కానీ నేను చేశాను. నా ప్రయత్నం నేను చేశాను. అందరూ అక్కడి మట్టుకు టెస్టులు మట్టుకు చేయించుకోమాకండి. ఇది మామూలు జ్వరం, మామూలు జలుబు. కానీ మీ అందరూ ముందు నుంచే కొంచెం కేర్‌ఫుల్‌గా ఉండండి. ఏది పడితే అది తినటము. బ ఈ దట్స్ ద అదే మెయిన్ ప్రాబ్లమ్. రౌండ్ ద క్లాక్ తినటం కాకుండా ఫాస్ట్ చేసి ఎక్కువ ఫ్రూట్స్, వెజిటబుల్స్ అండ్ దెన్ మీకు అదే హైడ్రేషన్ అంటే ఎక్కువ ఫ్లూయిడ్స్ అయ్యి సరిగ్గా తాగి ఉండండి. అంతకంటే ఏమీ లేదు. పరిగెత్తొద్దు చీటికి మాటికి జ్వరం రాగానే హాస్పిటల్‌కి టెస్టింగ్ అని చెప్పి, లేదా సిటీ స్కాన్స్ అని, అయ్యని, ఇయ్యని. ఎందుకంటే దాంట్లో కాంట్రాస్ట్ అన్నీ రేడియేషన్ అన్నీ ఉంటాయి. సో ఎవ్రీథింగ్ యాడ్స్ అప్. ఇట్స్ మీ చేతుల్లోనే ఉంది. మీ ఆరోగ్యం మీ చేతుల్లోనే ఉంది. మీ అంతట మీరు తెలుసుకొని మీరు చేయగలిగితే చాలా బావుంటది. లేకపోతే ఇంకా లాక్‌డౌన్స్ వస్తాయి. ఇంకా మాస్క్ అంటారు. పిల్లలు చూడండి ఎంత సఫర్ అవుతున్నారో. స్కూల్‌లు లేవు, ఏమీ లేవు. ఇంట్లోనే ఉంటున్నారు. మీ అందరూ గూడా ప్రతిరోజు ప్రతిదానికి పానిక్. ఇంకొకటి టీవీని కట్టేయండి. మీడియా వాళ్ళని నోరు మూసేయండి. అంటే ఇలాంటి మంచి ఛానెల్స్ చూడండి. కానీ మామూలుగా మీడియా చిటికి మాటికి మీకు చెప్తా ఉంటది కదా! కరోనా వచ్చింది, పాండమిక్ ఏమవుతుంది, ఇట్లా ఇట్లా అయన్నీ మానేసేయండి. టీవీ కట్టేసి మంచి పుస్తకాలేమన్నా చదువుకోండి.
టీవీ కట్టేసి మంచి పుస్తకాలు చదువుకోండి. ఆ పరీక్షలు కూడా టెస్టులు ఊళ్ళలో కూడా ఏమేమి ఉన్నది చెప్పండి. గొర్రె, బర్రె, పపాయ, గాలి కూడా ఆర్టీపీసీఆర్ పాజిటివ్. అది కూడా మీ 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 భాషలోనే మీరు చెప్పండి.
టెస్ట్ గూడా ఏం చేస్తున్నారో ఎవరికీ తెలీదు. ఎవరైనా డాక్టర్‌ని అడగండి. వాళ్ళకే తెలీదు ఆ టెస్ట్ ఎట్లా టెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నారో. సో కొన్ని దేశాల్లో అదే ఆఫ్రికాలో నా ప్రెసిడెంట్‌ని చంపేశారు పాపం ఆయన ఎక్స్‌పోజ్ చేసినందుకు. ఆయన పేరు టంజానియా ప్రెసిడెంట్‌ని. ఆయన అదే ఒక బొప్పాయి తీసుకొని చేశారు. లేకపోతే ఒక గొర్రెని తీసుకొని చేశారు. ఆస్ట్రేలియాలో కోకో కోలాతో చేశారు. కొంతమంది మంచినీరు ట్యాప్‌లోంచి వచ్చే నీళ్ళతో టెస్ట్ చేశారు. అది కూడా పాజిటివ్ వచ్చింది. సో సగం మంది మీకు తెలుసు ఇప్పుడు మనం ఊరికనే వెళ్తాము, మనకేమి సింటమ్స్ ఏమి ఉండవు, ఏదో ఎయిర్పోర్ట్కి వెళ్ళాల్సి వచ్చో ఏదో తీసుకుంటాం టెస్ట్, ఆ రోజు సింటమ్స్ లేకుండానే పాజిటివ్ వస్తుంది. లేకపోతే ఇప్పుడు ఎలాన్ మస్క్ ఉన్నాడు, ఆయన ఒక నోస్ట్రిల్ ఒక ముక్కులోనేమో చేసుకుంటే పాజిటివ్ వచ్చింది, ఇంకో ముక్కులో చేసుకుంటే నెగిటివ్ వచ్చింది. అవన్నీ ఎట్లా కుదురుతాయి? ఈ టెస్ట్ నిజంగానే బాగా పనిచేస్తా అంటే ఇట్స్ ఏ 50%. ఇప్పుడు ప్రీతం గారు చెప్పారు 50% అన్నారు. ఒక టెస్ట్ని తీసుకొని ఒక కాయిన్ని ఫ్లిప్ చేసి హెడ్సా టేల్సా పాజిటివా నెగిటివా అని ఆట ఆడినట్టు ఎట్లా కుదురుతుంది ఇదంతా? టెస్టే కరెక్ట్‌గా లేనప్పుడు అసలు అదేంటి కోవిడ్-19 ఉందని ఎట్లా నమ్ముతాము? కోవిడ్-19 వచ్చింది మనకని ఎట్లా నమ్ముతాము? సో, ఆలోచించుకోండి. తే ఈ ఈ ఆటలు ఇట్లాగే సాగుతా ఉంటాయి. మీ అందరూ లైన్‌లో నుంచొని తీసుకొని భయపడి అమ్మో! కోవిడ్ మానేసేయండి, అసలు కోవిడ్-19 గురించి మాట్లాడటమే మానేసేయండి. మీ అందరూ మామూలుగా 2019లో మీ అందరూ ఎట్లా బతికారో అట్లా బతకండి. కానీ కొంచెం హెల్త్ అంటే ఏంటో తెలుసుకొని బతకండి. సరిగ్గా తినండి ముందు. అయన్నీ చేస్తే తప్ప మనం ఈ డొంపిలోంచి బయటపడం.
थैंक यू एंड प्रीतम जी, बिफोर वी से बाय, हिंदी में थोड़ा अमित शाह जी हिंदी में बात करने की उनकी बहुत इच्छा है, थोड़ा आपको हिंदी में समझाइए उनको.
आपका मैं क्रिटिक रहा हूँ बहुत सारी पॉलिसीज में, लेकिन जो आपने योगा और आयुष का
पहले
प्रचार
परीक्षा
किया
से आइए प्रीतम जी, पहला परीक्षा से आइए.
और
परीक्षा और आपका पेपर, एम्स का पेपर, चिकित्सा परीक्षा, चिकित्सा, निवारण, इन तीन के ऊपर इन लोगों को बताइए क्या सही है क्या
तो,
झूठ है.
तो आपने आयुष को उसका प्रचार किया, लेकिन फाइनली आपने मार्च 2020 में बैन किया. लेकिन मंत्रालय क्लिनिकल प्रोटोकॉल बनाए योगा एंड आयुर्वेदा. आपने उन्होंने नेचुरोपैथी का प्रोटोकॉल बनाया, जिसमें भी है बनाया, यूनानी का भी बनाया, लेकिन आपने उसको प्रमोट नहीं किया. आप वैक्सीन और रेमडेसिविर को प्रमोट करते रहे. तो आप भारतीय संस्कृति को कैसे प्रमोट कर रहे हैं? अब तो आए थे कि हम भारतीय संस्कृति को वापस लाएंगे और हिंदू का जो ये है जो संस्कार है उसको वापस लाएंगे. लेकिन जो रिलीजन हमारा है, जिसको हम हिंदू धर्म बोलते हैं, उसमें जो चीजें हैं उसको आप क्यों नहीं आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं? उसमें सिखाया गया है कि हर पर्व और त्योहार में डाइटरी इंटरवेंशन उसमें ऑटोमेटिकली बिल्ट इन है, जो कि डिटॉक्स के लिए काम करता है. उसमें फलाहार है, जूस फास्टिंग है, वाटर फास्टिंग है, फ्रूट फास्टिंग है. उसमें आप अनाज का पके हुए अनाज का त्याग करते हैं. ये सारी चीजें पूरे साल बनाई गई. आपने उसका प्रचार क्यों नहीं किया? अगर उसका प्रचार करेंगे तो भारत में किसी फार्मास्यूटिकल मेडिसिन की जरूरत ही नहीं रहेगी. और ये हमारा सालों का ज्ञान जो है ऋषि मुनियों ने लिखा है, जिसको आप बोलते हैं वो साइंटिफिक नहीं है. लेकिन अगर आप साइंस की परिभाषा देखें तो साइंस का तो सब कुछ ऑब्जर्वेशन पे डिपेंड करता है. उन्होंने हजारों साल के ऑब्जर्वेशन में जिन चीजों को लिखा है आयुर्वेदा में और बाकी सारे चरक संहिता में और सुश्रुता संहिता में, उसको आपने नकार दिया और यहाँ पर हर तरह के फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री को आपने रेड कार्पेट एंट्री दी ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ पॉलिटिकल डोनेशन. सीरम इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ इंडिया इज वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट पॉलिटिकल डोनर इन द कंट्री. लेकिन फिर आप भारत के लिए क्या कर रहे हैं? ठीक है, आपको वोट के लिए पैसा मिल गया, सब कुछ मिल गया, भारत के लिए क्या कर रहे हैं? भारत की संस्कृति कहाँ है जिसके लिए आपने बोला था कि हम वो वादा करते हैं भारत की संस्कृति को वापस लाएंगे. भारत आज की डेट में सुपर पावर बन सकता है. जो नॉलेज बेस है, जो एंशिएंट विजडम है, जो डाइटरी इंटरवेंशन है, वो सारी चीजें डॉक्यूमेंटेड, उसको आप आगे लेकर के जाइए. और ये मेरा अपना पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस जो मैंने आपको बताया कि 14 साल से जब मैंने दवाइयाँ बंद की, मुझे दवाइयों को दोबारा लेने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ी. आज की साइंटिफिक एविडेंस है कि पीपल हैव टेकन एंटीबायोटिक्स, इट कैन कॉज एनी काइंड ऑफ क्रोनिक इलनेसेस, डायबिटीज, हाइपरटेंशन, कार्डियोवास्कुलर इश्यू, द गट डिसबायोसिस, ऑल नथिंग बट आउटकम ऑफ एंटीबायोटिक. तो सामने आ चुका है. फिर भी आप एंटीबायोटिक को प्रमोट कर रहे हैं, फिर भी आप रेमडेसिविर को प्रमोट कर रहे हैं. आपने डॉक्टर हर्षवर्धन जिन्होंने कोरोनिल का प्रचार शुरू किया, आपको उन्होंने देश का जो हेल्थ मंत्रालय है वहां से बाहर निकाल दिया. राइट. तो ये भी एक काफी इम्पोर्टेंट है, क्योंकि बाबा रामदेव ने जो बनाया आपका जो मेडिसिन थी कोरोनिल में, उसको मैंने खुद अपने फादर के लिए यूज किया. जब उनका फीवर 4-5 दिन के लिए था, सबने बोला, वेव 2 का टाइम था, ऑक्सीमीटर स्कैन काफी तेजी से था. मेरे घर में सब लोगों ने फोर्स किया कि ऑक्सीमीटर टेस्ट करो. ऑक्सीमीटर टेस्ट में वो 60-65 आया SpO2 लेवल. उस कंडीशन में यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि मेरे सामने क्या कंडीशन थी. कि सब लोग बोल रहे हैं इंक्लूडिंग माय फैमिली मेंबर्स कि तुरंत इनको हॉस्पिटल लेके जाओ। मैंने कहा मैं नहीं ले जाऊंगा हॉस्पिटल, क्योंकि वहाँ जो हो रहा है मुझे पता है क्या एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन हो रहा है। मैंने डॉक्टर्स जो क्लोज है उनसे बात की कि ये रेस्पिरेटरी इश्यूज क्या हो रहा है लोगों में, लोग सांस क्यों नहीं ले पा रहे हैं। उन्होंने बताया कि इट इज अ कंडीशन कॉल्ड ब्रोंकल अस्थमा। It is not a problem with inhalation, it is a problem with exhalation. If you know any yogic technique which can work on exhalation, it will work. तब मैंने पहले देखा कपालभाति, लेकिन सबके लिए कपालभाति सुटेबल नहीं है अगर उन्होंने प्रैक्टिस नहीं किया है। फिर मैंने कंक्लूड किया नादा अनुसंधाना, जिसमें अकारा उकारा और मकारा चैंटिंग करते हैं। मैंने अपने फादर को 9 बार अकारा उकारा मकारा की चैंटिंग कराई, जिसमें आपका जो अंदर में गैसियस एलिमेंट है बाहर जाता है और ऑक्सीजन अंदर जाता है। तो ऑक्सीजन सेचुरेशन आपका गैस और ऑक्सीजन का मिक्सचर है। तो 7 मिनट के नादार अनुसंधाना में ऑक्सीजन सेचुरेशन 60 से बढ़कर के 95 हो। तो ये हमारा एंशिएंट विजडम है, इसको आप प्रयोग कर सकते थे। आपने ऑक्सीजन कॉन्सेंट्रेटर पे जोड़ दिया, आपने लोगों को हॉस्पिटल बेड दिलाने में जोड़ दिया, लेकिन जो सिंपल टेक्निक जो अपने एंशिएंट विजडम से है, सिंपल अकारा उकारा मकारा चैंटिंग और महामृत्युंजय मंत्र की चैंटिंग, ये काफी है। ये मैंने अपने फादर के लिए भी किया और काफी लोगों में उसको किया। उनका एसपीओटी फटाफट आपका 60 70 80 90 जितना भी हो उससे बढ़ के 95 क्रॉस कर गया। आपने उनकी बात सुनी और 90 पे कैप लगाया कि 90 से अगर नीचे ऑक्सीजन सेचुरेशन जा रहा है आप हॉस्पिटल भागो। एंड दैट वाज द रीजन पीपल वे आर स्ट्रगलिंग टू गेट अ बेड इन द हॉस्पिटल। द रीजन क्या था, आपने उस पर बिल्कुल भी ध्यान नहीं दिया। इंटर मिनिस्ट्रियल कमेटी रिपोर्ट 2014 की आपके पास पड़ी हुई है, जिसपे आईआईटी बॉम्बे, आईआईटी कानपुर, एम्स, आईसीएमआर के साइंटिस्ट ने आपको रिपोर्ट दी थी कि रेडिएशन का क्या इम्पैक्ट हो सकता है, जो कि हमें दिखा। 2021 मार्च में आपने बहुत बड़ा रेडिएशन का ऑप्शन किया, जिसमें पहली बार इंडिया ने माइक्रोवेव ओवन फ्रिक्वेंसी पे मूव किया 2.5 गीगाहर्ट्ज। उसका इम्पैक्ट सबको पता है। आपने एंटीना को कंसोलिडेट किया, जो 2 ऑपरेटर कम से कम उनके बीच में गैप होना चाहिए, हाफ से 1 किलोमीटर। उसको आपने कंसोलिडेट करके एक टावर में 2 ऑपरेटर को लगाया, जिससे आपकी पावर डेंसिटी बढ़ गई। उसके कारण भी लोगों को प्रॉब्लम आया। बॉडी ने एडजस्ट किया, लेकिन बहुत सारे लोग अपना लाइफ को बैठे। एक तो आपका रेडिएशन का इम्पैक्ट था, दूसरा आपका जो एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन चल रहा था, जो रेमडेसिविर ऑलरेडी फेल हो चुका है। WHO ने ऑलरेडी कम्युनिकेट कर दिया है कि इट इज नॉट वर्किंग। स्टिल इट वाज सोल्ड इन द मार्केट, इन द ब्लैक मार्केट एट लार्ज स्केल। पीपल हैव पेड मोर देन 2 lakhs, दे डिड नॉट सर्वाइव। तो ये सारी चीजें आपको दोबारा देखनी चाहिए। वोट तो आपको मिल रहा है, आप दोबारा जीत रहे हैं, लेकिन जो आपका वादा था कि हम भारत की संस्कृति को वापस लाएंगे, सुपर पावर बनाएंगे, भारत के पास आज की डेट में कैपेबिलिटी है। एटलीस्ट हेल्थ सेक्टर में अगर हम चीजों को वापस लेकर आए, भारत सुपर पावर बन सकता है। तो बस ये कहना मेरा दोनों के लिए, अमित शाह के लिए भी और पीएम नरेंद्र मोदी के लिए।
तो ये है आज का, क्योंकि काफ़ी लोग आप हिंदी में बात करने की हमें, या आप हिंदी
You're not audible, Dr. Reddy.
या
Unmute.
ओहो ओह सभी लोग ये चैनल को भी देख रहे हैं। तुरंत हमने सिटीजन्स डॉक्टर TSPR, ये हम संतुष्ट है इससे। आप हमारे चैनल को देख रहे हैं आप, और हिंदी में बात करने की आपकी जो इच्छा है, हम प्रयास करते हैं ताकि आपको समझ में आए, क्योंकि हमारे अमित शाह जी ने जो बात करी है। लेकिन हम दक्षिण में हम ये बोलते हैं कि आप हिंदी बोलने से हम तेलुगु बोलेंगे, और एक बार आप हिंदी बोलने से तमिल बोलेंगे, और एक बार आप हिंदी बोलने से फिर मलयालम बोलेंगे या कन्नड़ा बोलेंगे। तो इस तरह की आप ये इम्पोजिशन मत कीजिए, क्योंकि भाषा नहीं, हमको सच्चाई चाहिए। सच क्या है, झूठ क्या है, विज्ञान क्या है और अविज्ञान क्या है, हक क्या है या डर क्या है, यही ज़रूरत है मंत्री जी। तो हम इसी की चर्चा करते हैं हमारे चैनल पे। विज्ञान, सच्चाई और हक की बात करते हैं। आज भी इसी तरह सच क्या है, व्हाट इज़ द अब्सोल्यूट ट्रूथ, ఇట్ హాస్ కమ్ అవుట్ వెరీ క్లియర్లీ. అసలైన నిజం కరోనా మహమ్మారి అంటే ఏమిటి? పరీక్షలు గొర్రెలు బర్రెలను పెట్టిన RT-PCR పాజిటివ్. అది నమ్ముదామా? అది నమ్మి హాస్పిటల్కి వెళ్దామా? అక్కడ రెమిడిసివిర్ వెంటిలేటర్ వల్ల చనిపోతున్నారని ఆల్ ఇండియా ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ ఆఫ్ మెడికల్ సైన్సెస్ RTA పిటిషనర్ దాని నుంచి వచ్చాయి. నిన్న రెమిడిసివిర్ క్లియర్గా చెప్పారు అది ఒక పాయిజన్, అది ఒక విషం అని. దాని ద్వారా కూడా చనిపోతూ ఉన్నారు. మళ్ళీ ఇవి రెండు కాక మనం భయపడున్నాం కాబట్టి టీకాలు, ఎటువంటి టీకాలు? దాంట్లో ఆవు రక్తం, ఇంకో దాంట్లో ఇప్పుడు కొత్త దాంట్లో పాము విషమా అని అడుగుతున్నాం మనం. అడిగితే కూడా వాళ్ళ కోపం వచ్చింది. చెప్పొచ్చు కదా, దే కెన్ ఆల్వేస్ ఇన్ఫార్మ్ అస్, నో యు ఆర్ రాంగ్, సో దిస్ ఈజ్ వాట్ ఇట్ కంటైన్స్, దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ వీఆర్ ఆస్కింగ్ యూ టు డిబేట్. బట్ హౌ కెన్ యూ షట్ అవర్ మౌత్ by not allowing live streaming? This is against the fundamental right of expression. You will be prosecuted, believe me. You will not go scot free. Yes, Mr. Pritam Sinha.
उस पे एक और मैसेज है उनके लिए कि भारत में शास्त्रार्थ का काफी महत्व रहा है और अलग अलग विचारधारा के लोगों को सामने एक स्टेज में बुला करके डिबेट का प्रावधान हुआ है. आप जो आज कर रहे हैं कि एक मैसेज आ रहा है, वेदर इट इज WHO और बिल गेट्स, बाकी जितने भी वॉइसेस आपको बंद कर रहे हैं. हमारा शास्त्रार्थ कहाँ है, विचारों की अभिव्यक्ति कहाँ है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजन कहाँ है? आप डिबेट कराइए, हो सकता है मैं गलत हूँ, लेकिन आप डिबेट तो कराइए, डिस्कशन कराइए जहाँ पर पब्लिक सिटीजन्स के लोग भी शामिल हों, आपके जो लोग डिसीजन ले रहे हैं वो भी शामिल हो, बहुत सारे लोग ICMR के चुपचाप बैठे हैं वो भी शामिल हो. एम्स में डॉक्टर संजय राय खुल के बोल रहे हैं, जिन्होंने बोला कि वैक्सीन और नेताजी ने डिसीजन नहीं लिया है कि बच्चों को वैक्सीन देना है. तो क्या था, जब आपको ऑलरेडी पता है कि 2 डोज लेने के बाद भी लोग इन्फेक्ट हो सकते हैं और स्प्रेड कर सकते हैं, तीसरे डोज का क्लिनिकल ट्रायल कि उससे बच जाएंगे, कहाँ है? नहीं है. चौथे का कहाँ है? नहीं है. बेंगलोर में
आप उतनी दूर जा रहे हैं प्रीतम जी. ट्विटर, यूट्यूब, CDA, FDA, इंक्लूडिंग US गवर्नमेंट, इंडियन गवर्नमेंट, ICMR, WHO, DCGI, all state governments, all political parties, we are putting you on a notice. Is it not a fact that the first batch of papers released by Pfizer, the mortality rate in small limited 3%, whereas the COVID in your own terms it is 0.026. फाइजर के जो वैक्सीन के बाद में जो मृत्यु हुई वो 3% वही बताया गया जो कोर्ट द्वारा पेपर्स बाहर आए. ट्विटर और यूट्यूब पूरे सरकारों को जवाब देना पड़ेगा या नहीं? तो लोग जानकार हो जाए. आप लिखिए ट्विटर और यूट्यूब किस तरह हमारे चैनल को रोक रहे हैं आप. सच्चाई सामने ही है. और सेकंड रिलीज भी हुआ कल परसों में, उसमें भी क्या है, द सेकंड रिलीज इज ऑल्सो देयर. हाउ मेनी साइड इफेक्ट्स कैन ए वैक्सीन विच इज touted to be a prevention, can it be more harmful and dangerous than the original disease itself? What is this nonsense going on? We are
How many more children? How many more children? We have to speak up for our children too.
Yes.
How many more be buried? How many more children have to suffer before all this is going to stop? I mean, it's like I really don't know how to say this, but the thing is, parents need to work on this thing. I've seen like people are telling me like from WhatsApp, it seems parents are posting pictures of, oh, my child took the vaccination, my child did this. What is this? Are you going to like, is this like going to a war for the country, or like going to do something like I can't understand the mentality of parents anymore at this point. They don't even have the spine to just even look at these things and then understand what it is. And most of them are city, like, you know, they have like a high paid job, they're all educated. They can't even think more.
That's a big statement coming from a doctor herself, and she has gone through so many pains. Because it's familiar, I don't want to reveal it. But before parents and citizens, before you pump that into your child's or into your own body, question them what it contains. అట్లీస్ట్ అడగండి ఆ టీకాలో ఏముంది, ఆ టీకా నేను ఎందుకు తీసుకోవాలి, రేపు పొద్దున ఏమైనా అయితే దీనికి ఎవరు జవాబుదారు. आप एटलीस्ट जानकार हो के आप माता पिता हो या नागरिक, आप पूछिए ये टीका में क्या है, मेरे वैक्सीन में आप जो देना चाह रहे हैं ये वैक्सीन में क्या है, और इसका जिम्मेदारी कुछ हुआ कल किसने लेगा, और मैं क्यों लूँ ये वैक्सीन. आप क्यों पूछ नहीं सकते क्या? ट्विटर एंड यूट्यूब, बिफोर फाइजर पेपर्स वर आउट on vaccination after effects, Pfizer trials also by British Medical Journal was there. Twitter, YouTube, did you forget that? Will you ban all those people who have come out? This is absolutely nonsense. You cannot frighten us into submission. We are going to come out making live shows. If Twitter and YouTube plays like this, Twitter and YouTube should be banned from the world scenario once for all, and they should be criminally prosecuted. Why? Because we are doing shows in larger public interest, because it is people participatory constitutional democracy as per rule of law, constitution invoking evidential act. When we are discussing, we release a flyer before with mobile number. on your same platform. Why don't you come and discuss? You prove us wrong, we are ready to accept. आप हमको गलत साबित कीजिए, हम तैयार है. మీరు మమ్మల్ని తప్పని చూపించండి, మేము తయారున్నాం. కానీ ఈ విధంగా బెదిరింపులకు గురి చేసి యూట్యూబ్, ట్విట్టరు, డాక్టర్ టీఎస్పీఆర్ ఛానల్ కానీ మిగతా మాట్లాడే వాళ్ళను తీసేస్తా అంటే అసహించుకుంటారు ప్రజలు. మిమ్మల్ని చట్టపరంగా మీపై చర్యలు కూడా తీసుకోవాల్సి వస్తుంది. నష్టపరిహారం పెద్ద ఎత్తున ఇవ్వాల్సి వస్తుంది. ఫైజర్ చూశారు కదా, టీకాలో ఇచ్చిన తర్వాత ఏమైంది? కోర్టు ద్వారా పేపర్లు బయటకు వస్తే 3% పైన మృత్యు. మేము చెప్పడం లేదు, పేపర్లే చెప్తున్నాయి. మొదటి దశ, ఇప్పుడు రెండవ దశ, ఎన్నో సైడ్ ఎఫెక్ట్స్. ఇది ట్విట్టర్, యూట్యూబ్కు కళ్ళు కనపడవా? దిస్ ఈజ్ వాట్ ఈస్ ఫర్ ఎ డే. అబ్సల్యూట్ ట్రూత్ we could bring it out regard testing, treatment as well as prevention. And what is the alternative? Prashanti has clearly brought out, and with Preetham's experience very clearly, it is every day, it is in our day to day lifestyles. You call Bhagavad Gita and everything, if you trust, or Quran, Bible, whatever it is, all those epics speak only one thing: health is in your hands. Right to life is your fundamental right. Don't allow others to interfere with your living, with your health. And you take proper information from us also. You need not depend on us. Whatever we are giving you information, you check, cross check whether this information is correct or not. हम जो भी आपको समाचार दे रहे हैं, आप इसको भी ज्ञान से आप तहकीकात कीजिए, क्या ये सच है या झूठ है. మేము మీకు ఇచ్చే సమాచారం సరి అయినదా కాదా మీరు నిర్ధారణకు రండి. నిర్ధారణకు వచ్చి మీరే సరి అయిన నిర్ణయం తీసుకోండి. जब आप समझ में आता आपको, तब आप एक निर्णय लीजिए. When you are informed, truly informed, well informed, then you take a decision on your own. That is what we are trying to do. Inviting everyone to come and discuss, to prove us wrong, because this is discussion, debate and decide. That is democracy. We always believe in democracy, and that too people participatory constitutional democracy with proper dissemination of information. No enmity against individual, nor animosity against any party or organization. Issue as per rule of law, constitution invoking evidential act. వ్యక్తిగత వైరాలు లేవు, పార్టీలు సంఘాల పట్ల శత్రుత్వం లేదు. అంశానికి చట్టం, రాజ్యాంగం ఆధారం. जो भी समस्या यहाँ पर चर्चा को आती है, वो समस्या को हम संविधान, कानून और आधार के दौर पर करते हैं. कोई व्यक्तिगत द्वेष या पार्टी या संघ के खिलाफ कोई इस तरह की साजिश या द्वेष ये चैनल कभी नहीं करता. दूसरी बार डॉक्टर टीएसपीआर चैनल को यूट्यूब और ट्विटर ने इस तरह ब्लैकमेल करके डिस्टर्ब कर रहा है, तो आप जानकार हो जाइए. यूट्यूब, ट्विटर को एक सबक सिखाइए, क्योंकि ये लोग क्या कर रहे हैं. ये लोग हमारी कानूनी तौर पर और हमारी लोकतंत्र को और हमारी समाचार व्यवस्था को और हमारी जीने की हक को, हमारी जो हम स्वच्छ से हम जो बात करते हैं, राइट टू फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन, जो हम बात करना चाहते हैं उसको नकार रहा है. और ये फ्री प्रेस के खिलाफ है. इन्फ्रिंजमेंट ऑफ फ्रीडम ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन इज नथिंग बट यू आर कर्बिंग द राइट ऑफ फ्री प्रेस. That is my fundamental right as a journalist, independent journalist. Without any prior notice, you are trying to suppress the truth. That is the absolute truth. Why? Because you are scared. We say you are scared. You are not discussing. That is for today. Thank you, Dr. Prashanti. Have a great day ahead for you. And I will thank Preetham ji also because of technical issues. This is what happens. They try to hack you. In spite of hacking, in spite of all these pressures on us, we come out with wonderful guests like Dr. Prashanti, Preetham, to sensitize public with all evidences. Now it is for people to act or react. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy.
For all the Indians, we say Sukha Nidra Shubharatri for the world over. Good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Once Dr. TSPR channel comes back, we are going to replay this on that. Till that time, be with Dr. TSPR channels in larger public interest. Bye.